Hello, I'm David Reimer, the director of the Dorothy Gerber Strings Program, and I'm here today with Eeva Rintala, who is going to be the guest soloist with the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra coming up on November 4. So, Eeva, we just want to get to know you a little bit more. So how about telling us why you chose violin? You started very young. How did that happen?
Yeah, I started when I was 4, and all I really remember, what I've been told, is that we were listening to the radio one day, and we were playing some classical music, and I heard violin on the radio. I was like, "Mom, what's that? What's that? I want to do that. That sounds really amazing. How do I learn that? How do I do that?" And then that Christmas, I got a violin under the tree, and the rest is
Nice.
history.
And so now you've been playing many years.
Yeah.
What is it that you like about the violin as an instrument and getting to play it?
I really like the freedom in how many different options there are for what you can play. I mean, there's fiddle, there's classical, and within those there's so many like categories of styles and types of playing, and there's just options and anywhere you can go with what you want to play.
Right. And you've had a lot of great moments as part of the Dorothy Gerber Strings Program in orchestra, quartets, recitals. Do you have any kind of highlight moments of where, a great experience? Maybe it was a playing moment, but it may have been something else entirely.
Well, I really liked when we went on tour to Grand Rapids and we played with the orchestra down there, and I also really liked just hanging out with the other members and going to the museum down there. And recently, this past year, we went on a local tour and we did bowling. So I don't know, it was really fun just bonding with everyone, even if we weren't playing together.
Right. Yeah, the orchestra forms a community, and several of you have been together for,
Yeah.
I think, 6 years now in that orchestra. So that's some really special relationships. And the orchestra we're talking about was the St. Cecilia Philharmonic, which you played with down in Grand Rapids, which had a full orchestra with woodwinds and brass, which we didn't have at the time in the Dorothy Gerber Youth Orchestra. So that was a fun experience. How about telling us about the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra Young Artist Competition? Now, this wasn't the first time you'd competed in it, but can you kind of think back to what it was like, the competition, and getting ready to play and all of that, and then hearing the result after you'd played?
It was less stressful than one would expect it to be, I think. Back, before you perform, you're just in a big room with all the other performers, and you're kind of talking and just hanging out. And I mean, it was very almost welcoming just to hang out with everyone before you performed.
And we should say a number of the people who were back there with you were also in the Gerber Strings Program, or part of your community.
Yeah, so I already knew a lot of them, which was nice. And I mean, it's always stressful playing, but having that beforehand was just kind of okay, everyone's in the same boat. We're all a little nervous, but we're all here together, so it's going to be okay. And then I think performing on stage, it was a little nerve-wracking with the judges, because for a normal performance, it's just the audience, but they're critiquing you. So that was a little stressful, but that's part of the challenge, I think. And then
did you feel like that was one of your best performances of it?
I feel like it was definitely one of my better performances, but obviously it wasn't my best, because it never is during a performance. But yeah, I think it went well.
Good. And then how did it feel when they announced the result, which you performed, everybody got through, you waited, I don't know, maybe half an hour or something while they considered the judges' scoring, and then they announced who was the winner. How did that feel?
It's kind of hard to describe. It wasn't shocking, but I was very surprised, but I was very happy in that moment, because I had worked really hard, and I had wanted to win that year especially, and I felt like I had a really good chance, so it was very nice to win.
Right. And now you get the big reward, which is
Yes.
the chance to solo with the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra. So we've been going through that in lessons, trying to prepare for that process. What are your thoughts currently about, the process of walking out on stage with this big audience, the whole orchestra behind you? What are the feelings going on right now as you prepare for that?
I feel very nervous, definitely. When I play it at home, I feel like I'm ready. I can do this from memory. It's fine. But then if we're at a lesson or I mess up when I'm trying to go through full memory, it's like, oh, this is going to be really bad when I go on stage and I get caught up for a second. But I still have time to practice, and I know I'm going to get it down. And obviously, just if you mess up, you just keep going. Just jump back in somewhere where you recognize what you're playing and just keep going. Don't stop. So.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing, it is experience that you haven't had before in terms of being that soloist. You've played solos in a lot of things, but never quite in this context. So
with an orchestra.
Yeah, so it's an incredible opportunity, but one that can be a little scary and that you want to prepare for. And Eeva went to hear the Great Lakes, to the Traverse Symphony this last weekend, and there was a guest soloist playing the Beethoven Concerto. So you had a chance to kind of see what it looks like up there. Any thoughts from your observation of the guest soloist there?
I feel that they were very poised and elegant walking on stage, and I want to recreate that. And I hope all goes as well as theirs did.
Yeah, well, and of course, that's a professional who does it a lot.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where people who do it a lot get accustomed to it. Much like, you play an orchestra, you're comfortable in that scenario because you've done it many times. And so maybe along the way you'll have more opportunities to be a soloist and learn from those experiences like you have others, to where you get comfortable with that and really enjoy it. Maybe another question or two. Any thoughts about the Beethoven Romance? Things you like about that piece? What makes you enjoy getting to play that?
I really like the opening, how it's slower and kind of gets you into the feel of it, and then you hear I drop out and you hear the main orchestra part, and then I come back in and I drop out at times, and it's very interesting to hear how I play a theme in my solo and then it's repeated later by the orchestra. And it's also very nice to have those breaks to just take a breather and reset and like ready myself for the next section, like think ahead, what am I getting ready for to play.
Yeah, it's a dialogue that you get, and there again, the concert this last weekend with the Beethoven Concerto with the TSO, you can hear that dialogue between soloists, and sometimes whole orchestra, sometimes one player. You may be back and forth with the oboe or things like that, and it's one of the great things about those pieces. So, any other things that you would like to share about your young career as a violinist and having this opportunity?
I would just say, don't quit. I've had times where I felt like, oh, this isn't going to amount to anything. So many people are better than me. What's the point? But just don't quit. Don't let yourself quit. Have someone there to keep pushing you to do your best and not drop it because it gets hard.
Right, and I think that's true in many things for you. You're successful in a lot of things, and there's times where you get discouraged, and you've learned that if I push through it and keep making the effort, you get a lot of good returns on that, whether it's sports, things academically, and your music as well. So thank you so much for talking with us, and we look forward to the performance on November 4 with the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra.